everybody, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Dr. Carmen Bryant, and this is Redefining Yourself. And I talk about overcoming narcissistic abuse. Thank you guys so much for all the new people that have come and subscribed to my channel. Thank you for joining this community of survivors, this community of people that need more information, or leaving relationships, or thinking of leaving relationship and need more information. Thank you for trusting me, and thank you so much for joining me. If you have not already, please subscribe to my channel, Dr. Carmen Bryant, Overcoming Narcissistic Abuse. Hit the bell so you know whenever I post new videos, and it's usually Tuesday through Friday, pre-recorded videos, and then Sunday I come on live. You can ask me whatever question you would like to ask me between 8 and 9 Pacific Standard Time, which is West Coast time, California side of the house. To all my friends and new family in Australia, in the UK, in Brazil, in Germany, in Denmark, in Canada, in Mexico, in Japan, in Mali, in Korea, thank you guys for joining me, and thank you for finding something valuable that I have to say that concerns your recovery. And so today I just wanted to come on and I wanted to talk about the narcissistic abuse syndrome. Now, in the DSM, which this is the book, the manual that we use, the mental health professionals, psychiatrists, psychologists, we use the diagnostic and statistical manual of mental health or mental disorders. And in their narcissistic abuse syndrome and complex post-traumatic stress disorder, those are not actually in the manual yet. However, a lot of times these cases or new diagnosis are studied, and then they're suggested to be put into this manual. However, based on your experiences, people do give names to, think about a narcissist abuse and narcissistic abuse syndrome. It is very unique. It is a part of domestic violence, but it is very unique at how they do what they do. And so to get started, let's talk about some of the language why narcissists or NPDs and APDs, which is the antisocial personality disorder, people with those disorders, but the specific language that they use is designed to manipulate their victims, how they manipulate their victims. You have to remember that, number one, okay, so this comes from Psych Central, and this is by Athena Stake, and I don't know if she's a PhD in psychology or social work, but she is a PhD, and in here, I wanted to read this really quick. It says that narcissists and sociopaths use language in specific ways. So even in their conversation with you, in a common conversation, in an everyday conversation, it all serves a purpose. Their conversations are manipulative in general. It doesn't even matter if they say hello, good morning. There's always something behind. There's always an ulterior motive in everything that they do and say. And so they use language in specific ways with a specific intent to take another's mind and will captive. The term emotional manipulation should be reserved for narcissist abuse to avoid risk of falling prey to narcissist ploys to hide themselves, blame shift, and mislabel those they victimize as narcissists. NPDs and APDs are masters of disguises, and narcissist abuse is a form of thought control, a specific use of language designed to emotionally manipulate another person in handing over their mind and their will, and thus their thoughts, desires, agencies as possessions for the narcissist's personal gain. So their language, when they talk, in their love bombing and their gaslighting, their language is specifically used to do something, to manipulate. That's how you got love bombed and you got pulled into a relationship, and your guards were put down because the language was very hypnotic. The emotions were all over the place, but they knew exactly what they were doing because they knew how to use language to manipulate you. And so some of the language that they use specifically is designed to get their victims to, and I'm going to give you the list of what the language is designed to do. Question your sanity. The gaslighting, so it questions your sanity on whether you're crazy or they'll tell you enough that you got problems and you're crazy, and they got you believing it, so you begin to question whether or not you are mentally stable or not. Mistrust those who support them. family members, friends, parents. That's why they isolate you. They have you, they take whatever information in the rapport building phase for you, and the someone said the interview phase for the narcissist. They listen to what you say negatively about family and friends, and they use that to gain control and to isolate you away. I'm the first one that has ever come into your life and did all this for you. I love you and I want to protect you, and I'm trying to get you away from these toxic, they'll even use the language on these videos, I'm trying to get you away from toxic family members because you're like this because of them. And so they'll use that to isolate you away and cause you to mistrust other people. They'll take little, everybody is human, and so there is no such thing as a perfect person. Even if you have a best friend, your best friend to get on your nerves from time to time, but they'll take little pieces of that to plant those seeds of mistrust. Feel abandoned, as if the narcissist only cares. So remember, to isolate you, they isolate you and make you feel like they're the only person in the whole world who has ever made you feel like this, and he or she is the only person that cares about you deeply. If you have a friend like that, imagine what your enemies is going to be like. They make you feel worthless. So the language is used to make you feel worthless. So if you did have somewhat of esteem, you probably don't have one now, or even coming out of the relationship. They give themselves no credit for the hard work. You've worked very hard to build things, build a business, build a home, build a life, but they come in, and because they have a low sense of self-esteem, they project their negativity on you, and then you took responsibility on how they thought and what they projected. And so now they have you feeling worthless when in actuality you took responsibility for how they feel about themselves. Doubt their ability to think or make decisions. You come out of the relationship, or you're in the relationship, and no matter what decision you make, now a lot of times the narcissist decisions are stupid, but they'll convince you that they are intelligent and that their decisions, a lot of it can't even back up. A lot of times they make dumb decisions, but it looks like a smart decision. So it had to make you think like, am I just as dumb as you are? No, they convinced you that what they do. So now you're questioning your own decisions, or your ability to make rational decisions or business decisions. You're questioning yourself, when in actuality they were looking at you because of the skill that you had, and so now it's reversed itself. Remember, I talked about it on another video. It's reversed itself. So now you feel like I can't even make any decisions, proper decisions, when it's actually the narcissist that can't. But they're everything that was valuable, that they saw and they admired about you, they pervert it and turn it backwards. So now you're even questioning yourself. Let's see, disconnect from their own wants and needs. So your wants and needs don't matter. So the language is designed to make you feel like you are selfish. Self-care is not selfish. Doing things for yourself from time to time is not selfish. You have to take care of yourself, but they want all your attention. They want you to focus everything on them, and then they cause you, the language that they speak to you and the things that they say makes you actually feel guilty for having any kind of wants, needs, or desires, or even wanting to go to the movies or wanting to go out to eat when they may do it all the time. Constantly buying cars and clothes, this is the somatic, spending money on stupid things, and you just want to go get a cup of coffee, but they'll make you feel like you are selfish, and you can actually see, that's when you begin to question your reality, like that you spend money and you are irresponsible and all I want is a cup of coffee. It becomes a big blown out confused argument, and you leave with that cognitive dissonance, like, wait a minute, I know that I know how to manage money, but they'll have you thinking that they're the ones that knows how to manage money and you don't. So even a cup of something simple as a cup of coffee will become an argument and make you feel guilty for wanting. So some of you come out of the relationship feeling guilty for even wanting to buy you a pair of shoes, or maybe even a car that you may need, or some clothes, or anything, hair, hairdo, get your nails done, something, but they make you feel guilty. So you come out of the relationship feeling that exact same way because you've been groomed to think that way. Give in to whatever the narcissist wants. Remember, that's how the trauma bonding is. And so they make you feel good as long as you're doing what they want you to do, and you're feeding their ego, and they make you feel good. And then the moment that you don't give them what they want, or you say no, oh, all hell is released. And, they traumatize you. They make you feel bad. They degrade you. They humiliate you. Anything to force you to change your mind, to agree with them and give them what they want. Then they reward you by giving you attention or stroking you or buying you a flower, something simple. And won't even say, I'm sorry. They may go buy you some jewelry. Remember Tina Turner and Ike Turner? Instead of him saying, sorry, what he ended up doing, just buying her mint coats and stuff. Sometimes it's not, taking them out to eat to apologize. They're not apologizing to you. They're just trying to appease you to get you to be quiet. Sometimes what you really want is a heartfelt apology, which you'll never get from a narcissist. You'll never get closure from a narcissist. Remember that, okay? You have to close the door because they're not. They devalue your contributions. You could be paying majority of the bills. They'll tell you, you don't even contribute to this house. You don't even do this. And you're thinking like, majority of my money is going to pay for your extravagant lifestyle that you can't afford. But you're not giving enough. You never can do enough. They will drain you. You'll never be able to do enough. Obsess on their faults or mistakes. They don't focus on your positive. And so they don't focus on your positive. They always look at the faults. You may have wore a heel out. There's some beautiful shoes and wore a heel out. They'll focus on that worn out heel instead of saying, hey, let me get your shoe and go fix this heel on your shoe. It's not the beauty in the outfit. It's the one thing, one earlobe is bigger than the other. They never, oh my gosh, they never, when they are degrading or humiliating you or devaluing you, they never find anything positive to say about you. They always look at your mistakes. They look at your faults. You're trying to say green light and you said red light by accident, and then you go back. You know what I'm trying to say. They'll change the whole focus of the conversation to the fact that you don't know your lights. So it's simple things. You're trying to make a point, and just like here on YouTube. When I mispronounce a word, you've had like trolls that come on here and their whole focus is you mispronouncing that word. Miss the whole concept of what's being said, but just the fact that you mispronounced that one word. So I'm not saying that the trolls are narcissists. Who cares and who knows? But something just as simple as that. You mispronounce something, so that they're not paying attention to your conversation. They're just trying to find that one thing that you did wrong so that it messes up the whole picture. Let's see. Ignore or make excuses for the narcissist's actions. So they have groomed you and trained you enough where you do make excuses for their behavior. Well, he's been or she's been hurt. She grew up in a bad family, and so I don't want to contribute to that. I want to be there for them. I want them to know that I'm the person that cares about them because no one has ever cared about them. And, woe is me. So you're making up all these excuses. You're not focused on what they're doing. You won't put the accountability back in their lap. You won't give them the responsibility of what they're doing. So you're constantly trying to cover for them. When you find yourself always making excuses for the abuser, you're always covering, they had a bad childhood and I know that they've been hurt and they're just having a bad day. When you start doing that on a consistent basis, you have a problem. There's a problem. You have been groomed to protect that abuser. So you are now protecting the abuser. And that is, I cannot think of the name of it at this particular time. But when you actually begin to protect the abuser, I'll think of the word probably at the end of the filming. So let's see. Spin their wheels trying to gain narcissist favor. No matter what you do, the narcissists know that you're going to do whatever you can possibly do to try to force them to care about you. Or not force them, to try to make them love you, so you'll do everything, anything you do. Empty out your bank account, give up your friends, give up your business, all to prove to the narcissist that you love them. No matter what you do, it will never be enough. They're empty pits. And so you can put as much as you want into it, it just leaks out and falls out. Let's see. Obsess on how to make the narcissist happy. A narcissist will never be happy. It doesn't matter. So no matter what it is they say and do, and remember, it's never about what they want to do. It's all about what you need to do to make me happy. And so you will try to do anything you possibly can to make the narcissist happy. The narcissist will never be happy. And so, but it's all about you. It's nothing about themselves and self-regulating and finding happiness or joy for themselves. Everything has to do with everybody else, and everyone plays a role in making the narcissist unhappy. Idealize the narcissist. So you will idealize the narcissist because you're focused on, the love bombing phase where they presented this false image of themselves. The mask is falling off and you're seeing the true nature of the narcissist, but you can't let go of what they represented in the very beginning when they love bomb you, that false illusion of themselves. When the mask fell off, what you see right now, that is exactly who they are. But they know that you're going to hold on to the hope of the image that they created in your head when they love bomb. And so you idealize that image of them that doesn't exist. And so you're hoping like, I know they can change because of the fact that I know what they used to be like. I don't know what happened, but maybe if I, they'll go back to where they used to be. And somehow I messed up and maybe I play a role in this to make this person feel this way or act this way. No, it was a game. There's nothing you can do to change them, and you idealize something that does not exist. Okay, let's move on. Let's see. I wanted to also address, let's look and see which one I want to do first. I wanted to address the brainwashing and abusive relationships, and this comes from, where's the name? Randy G. Fine. Effects of Brainwashing on Narcissist Victims and Survivors, is narcissist abuse expert, podcast host, author, and it's on randygfine.com. And let me scroll down. I wanted to get to this part. Being in an abusive relationship, this is by Ann Silvers. She's a licensed mental health counselor for Psych Central World of Psychology. Being in an abusive relationship often feels like torture. Sometimes that's because your partner behavior feels like torture techniques used by mortal enemies instead. Let's see, brainwashing is defined in Psychology Dictionary as that which manipulates and modifies a person's emotions, attitudes, and beliefs. It reduces a person's ability to mentally defend themselves and makes it easier for another person to control them. This may have happened in childhood, and so family or mothers and fathers, sisters or brothers, if they had narcissists or they were abusive, they brainwashed you, making you susceptible for another person to control you. They've controlled you, so you think, even though you don't like it, it became a norm. And so when someone else did it, it became a norm. You can't distinguish the difference between what is normal and abnormal. That's all that you're accustomed to. So let's see. Let's look. I wanted to go to this part of it. In 1956, Albert Bitterman studied how prisoner of war camps personnel got U.S. prisoners of Korean War to give them tactical information, collaborate with propaganda, and agree with false confessions. He stated that inflicting physical pain was not necessary to induce compliance, but psychological manipulation were extremely effective for that purpose. And so his report included that what has come to be known as the Bitterman's chart of coercion. You guys go look it up. And so it talks about the different elements used in brainwashing in different situations, including partner abuse. And so the tactics included in his chart can be linked to other ways people abuse their partners. And so he summarized it for brainwashing, and this is what narcissists uses to brainwash you. Isolation, monopolization of perception, so fixes attention on immediate predicaments, the here and now, this situation, this problem, you have this problem, this is the problem, this is the problem, instead of looking at a bigger picture. Eliminates undesirable stimuli. So let's see, induced debilitation or exhaustion, threats, constantly threatening you, occasional indulgences, so provides motivation for compliance, hinders adjustment to deprivation. So that's that trauma bonding. They give you occasional indulgence by making you feel good about yourself, by telling you love you, whatever they do to get those emotions up, and then they apply trauma again, then they abuse you, they humiliate you, they degrade you. So that's back and forth. So that's that a part of brainwashing, demonstrating superiority. They're superior to you, and they're going to demonstrate that. They're going to show you how they're superior to you. Degrade you, enforce trivial demands, so little stupid stuff. Why didn't you clean the sink? What do you mean, why didn't I clean the sink? You spit into the sink. It's your job to clean it up. No, it's not. This is a partnership, but your job is, your responsibility is, and you can hear a lot of women may say, that the man will come in and use their male role to overpower them by saying, you know, this is your responsibility. You're supposed to be the woman of the house, and this is what you're supposed to do, and you're supposed to. But it's a partnership. And a partnership, you do things together. Let's see. Let me find. So we got through that. So let me go to the next one really quick. I have a client coming. So this right here, they're talking about cults. And in the cults, let's look at this. There's characteristic of cults. Okay, so let's see. And this is by, who is this by? Fairy Tale Shadows, Living Through and Recovering from a Relationship with a Narcissist. And this is written by, who's this written by? I think is Kristen Milstead, who's a survivor and a advocate. And she has sources on where she got the information from. So let's look. I just want to take you to this chart real quick, and I'm just gonna give you some information concerning cults versus narcissists. Let's look. They used, so in cults, deception, the victim is never aware that they're entering into a cult. The message sounds harmless or even noble. Well, in a narcissistic relationship, the victim is never aware that they're entering into an abusive relationship. The abuser seems caring or sometimes even angelic, doing all the right things. That's the love bombing. And the love bombing says love bombing, excessive attention, niceness, and praise within a cult. Excessive praise, flattery, lavish gifts, and mirroring. Love bombing in a narcissist relationship. The hook. Group cult leaders has the answers or will solve all your problems. In a narcissist relationship, the relationship is special and partners are soulmates. Remember, they mirrored you, so you have fallen in love with yourself. In a cult, those who have left the group are shunned and have become the enemy. In a narcissistic relationship, past exes of the abusers are called cheaters, crazy, or abusive. Outsiders, in a cult, the outside world is framed as dangerous. Within a narcissist world, friends and families of the victim are framed as enemies of the relationship by the abuser. So that's why you're isolated. Isolation. The victim is given to give up. The victim's asked to give up things and people he or she loves, and the group begins to dominate the victim's time. That's the cult. In the narcissistic relationship, the victim is asked to give up things and people he or she loves, and the abuser begins to dominate the victim's time. Promised ideal. The group promises the victim will achieve XYZ if the victim will follow their program. In a cult, the abuser promises a soulmate relationship if only the victim will do what the abuser says. In the narcissist relationship, monitoring, lack of privacy, and group members report infractions to the cult leader. In narcissist, excessive monitoring of the victim by the abuser. One-way communication. Victim is not allowed to question the rules. In a cult, the victim is not allowed to speak up about problems in the relationship or ask questions. Circular conversation tactics and stonewalling are used to send messages that his or her concerns are irrelevant. Narcissism. Withdrawal of love or falling out of line. The group punishes for infractions by withdrawing love if not obeyed. That is in a cult. In the narcissist relationship, the abuser withdraw love for any perceived wrong or any challenge to any of the abusive behavior. Boundary erosion. The group slowly begins to ask for things that challenge the victim's value until he or she is doing things that they would never normally do, giving up mass sums of money, hurting other people, etc. In a cult. In narcissist relationship, the abuser slowly begins to ask for things that challenge the victim's values until he or she is doing things they would never normally do, limiting their own freedom, sex acts, etc. Let's look. Mind control. Beliefs take over the victim's life and become the victim's identity. In cults, the victim will hide abuse and defend abuser to others, works hard to please abuser and achieve their ideal relationship. Narcissism. Let's see. And there's more. Let's look. The effects, CPTSD, lack of awareness of harm suffered. Victim may not realize he or she was in a cult even after leaving. And for narcissism, the victim may not realize he or she was abused even after the relationship ends. So some of you are not realizing you were in a narcissist relationship until you begin to get this information, and now you're learning what type of relationship you actually were in. Feelings of unreality. dissociation and feeling of unreality, and that's in both occult and in leaving a narcissist relationship. Doubt. Victims have time where he or she questions whether it was as bad as he or she thought it was, and the same within a narcissistic relationship. Victim have times where he or she questions whether it was bad, or is she just thinking of this, maybe it was just in my thoughts. Let's see. Emotional turmoil. Trouble adjusting and making decisions despite feeling of being free in a cult, coming out of a cult. Trouble adjusting and making decisions despite feeling of being free in a narcissist relationship. You're accustomed to that tormentor. You're accustomed to being held hostage. And so to have freedom, it feels awkward and feels strange. And so a lot of times people much rather go back under that bondage of the narcissist because they can't handle the freedom. They can't handle, because you have been told what to do. You have been programmed. Let's see. Identification. Victim may defend the cult. In a narcissist relationship, leaving, victim may miss the abuser. Impulse to return. Victims consider returning to the cult. Victim tempted to return to the relationship. A lot of you do experience that. Let's see. So that's just some basic information, but you guys can go read the rest of the article. It is under Fairy Tale Shadows, Living Through and Recovering from a Relationship with a Narcissist. And you guys can read the rest of it. So hopefully this is giving you a little information about some of the things that you guys were going through and some of the symptoms that you guys are going through. We're going to go back and revisit PTSD and complex PTSD and brain damage. I did do a video on that. I'd like for you guys to go and look at that. Remember, it was post-traumatic stress and complex post-traumatic stress and even brain damage after an abusive relationship. And also another one is which one was it? It was the trauma bonding. Go look at the trauma bonding, but it shows you how you were traumatized. It tells you how you were traumatized. So hopefully this has helped a little bit today to give you some idea of the narcissist victim syndrome, which is not in the DSM yet. But just to give you some idea of what you've been experiencing. I'm going to go back into some of the other symptoms, the post-traumatic stress symptoms, because some of those symptoms, what they were saying was duplicate the PTSD symptomology. It is post-traumatic stress. It is complex post-traumatic stress when you've been abused. Just because you may not have been physically abused, and some of you have been, the trauma in itself is like being a prisoner in war. So some of these symptoms that the prisoner of war has went through from being tormented, not physically tormented, mentally tormented, is the same thing that you went through. And I did do a video on that as well, that you have went through in this relationship with a narcissist. So hopefully this has helped you, and I'm working very hard to make sure that I can deprogram your thinking to the way that you were programmed by the narcissist. Some of you guys are still in the relationship, and then there are narcissists on this channel that pretend to be victims, and so no problem at all. They may be getting information, but the problem is that their behavior is being called out, and we are educating each other so that we can identify these type of predators. Okay, so hopefully this has helped you. Leave your comments, let me know what you think, tell me what topics you want me to talk about. You're welcome to email me, Dr. Carmen Bryant, drcarmenbryant@outlook.com. I know I have a lot of emails, so a lot of times I can't get back to everybody. I try to read as many comments as I can, but there's a lot, and so I do apologize. I apologize for not being able to respond back right away, but do please leave your comments, tell me what you think, give me some more topics to talk about, and I thank you so much for tuning in. Please subscribe to my channel, Dr. Carmen Bryant, Overcoming Narcissist Abuse. Hit the bell so that you can you're alerted whenever I upload new videos, and when I come on live on Sundays between 8 and 9 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Sometimes I can get back on earlier, so usually I'll send an alert through the community tab. A lot of you guys get the tab, let the alert letting you know that I'm getting ready to come on live, and I usually give it a 15 to 20 minute time frame so you guys can get prepared to come on and talk to me. But Sundays are usually question and answers. I open up the forum. You can ask me whatever you want to ask. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you guys so much for the emails, for all the comments, and all the compliments. Thank you so much. This is for you guys, to help you come out of that dark place that predator took you into. I said it on my live video on Sunday. I am just because I'm a veteran, I am a soldier for life. There's no such thing as a former Marine, former soldier, former sailor. We are service members for life. we are veterans, meaning that we are not actively in the military anymore, but we are always soldiers. And my motto, just like the rest of my fellow comrades across the board in the military, is we leave no comrade behind. And so if I made it out of the dark forest and I find a path out of the forest, I will go back down the path and pull you out, you know, kicking and screaming. I'll bring you back out the path that was created by my mentors, or even by myself coming out of those woods. We go back and we get those that are still in the woods and bring them out of the darkness into the light, to give them information and to give you revelation of what you've been through, to open up your mind, to let you see, to take the blinders off your eyes, to see what you have been involved in, and to strengthen you, to build you back up. So thank you guys once again. As my friend always says, go and be great.